So this week at Mass, I heard the responsorial line from Psalm 40. Here am I, Lord, I come to do your will. And my first instinct was to make this my mantra. That's the category my brain went to automatically. A short line, repeatable, solid, something I could come back to when things feel scattered, something to say to myself when motivation dips or clarity evaporates, something that would help me stabilize myself. But the longer the line stayed with me, the more obvious it became that it refuses to do that job. It doesn't behave like a quote. It doesn't inspire me exactly. It doesn't comfort me, but it stays, nevertheless. And what struck me wasn't that the line was beautiful. It isn't really. And it certainly wasn't emotionally soothing. It's not. What struck me was how resistant it is to modern usage. You can't turn it into a slogan. You can't put it on a mug without sounding faintly accusatory. It doesn't optimize anything. It doesn't clarify any goals. It doesn't help you step into your power. It doesn't promise that things will work out. In fact, it seems almost aggressively uninterested in outcomes at all, which already puts it at odds with most of the phrases we're encouraged to repeat to ourselves when life feels uncertain. We live in an age of mantras, short, repeatable lines meant to stabilize the self, to regulate anxiety, to reassert control. I am enough. I choose my path. I trust the process. These phrases aren't evil exactly, but they are revealing. They assume the main problem of life is internal imbalance and that the solution is internal reinforcement. If you say the right words often enough, the self will somehow steady itself, like a spinning top that's somehow nudged back into equilibrium. But here am I, Lord, I come to do your will, does something far more dangerous. It removes the self from the center of the sentence entirely. That's why it doesn't work as a mantra. A mantra is meant to close the loop. This line opens one. A mantra calms the ego. This line exposes it. A mantra affirms. This line submits. And submission, especially voluntary submission, is a category modern people and modern men especially have been trained to distrust, if not despise, which is a shame because submission is often exactly what young men are starving for. Young men today aren't short on ambition. They aren't short on plans. They aren't even short on discipline. They lift heavy things. They track habits. They optimize diets, calendars, and online personas. What they lack isn't drive. It's direction, not energy, but a worthy authority to offer that energy to. So the force turns inward. The will bends back in on itself. Life becomes a project of self-authorship, which sounds noble until you realize authorship without an editor is just narcissism with better lighting. Here am I is the opposite posture. It's presence without pretense. It's standing where you actually are, not where you plan to be once conditions improve. No resume, no explanation, no contingency clause, just availability. And availability is terrifying because this is the sentence you say when you walk up to your commanding officer, already knowing what's coming next. Probably won't be glorious. It's the sentence you say when you suspect the assignment will be inconvenient, uncomfortable, unrecognized. The job no one wants, the one that smells bad, takes too long, costs you something you were hoping to keep, like time, comfort, reputation, control, maybe even your life, which is exactly why most of us recoil from it. We like obedience in theory as long as it leads somewhere reasonable. We like sacrifice in hindsight once it's been framed as necessary or noble. What we don't like is offering ourselves before knowing the assignment, before the conditions, before the guarantees, before the exit options have been clearly labeled. Here am I, Lord, I come to do your will, eliminates all of that. And this is where the line stops being poetic and becomes dangerous. Because this isn't just the posture of the psalmist. It's the posture of Christ himself. This is the sentence Christ lives every time he looks at his future, knowing exactly how it will end. Not ignorance, not optimism. Consent. Again and again, the will is offered forward into suffering that is neither abstract nor accidental, but fully seen, which means this line is not about blind obedience. It's about clear-eyed obedience. That distinction matters. Blind obedience can be naive. Clear-eyed obedience is terrifying. It's what you say when you already know the cost and choose alignment anyway. When you stop bargaining, when you stop asking for a different cross, when you stop pretending meaning will arrive without blood, loss, or humiliation. That's why this line sounds like a battle cry to men, not because it promises victory, but because it demands courage without applause. Most modern spiritual language is designed to make us feel safe. This line does the opposite. It assumes danger, it assumes difficulty, it assumes the will you are offering yourself to is not optimized for your comfort, but for your transformation. And yet, strangely, this is where freedom appears. Because once you've already consented to the hardest possible assignment, fear loses its leverage. You stop negotiating reality into being kinder than it is. You stop asking for life to be fair. You stand at attention and you say with no illusions left intact, I'm here, I'm listening, use me, send me. And this is why chanting to yourself can only ever take you so far. Because it's prayer with the object removed. It's devotion folded inward. The self asking the self for permission to feel okay. So no, you don't need a mantra. And you certainly don't need to pray to yourself. You need to walk up to your Lord, knowing full well the assignment may be costly, it may be inconvenient and humiliating or hard, and say the only words that actually reorder life. Here am I, Lord. I have come to do your will.